quote Julie there. And thank you, Julie and Jane, for putting this together and giving me a reason to put makeup on for the first time in like 8 million years. And also I'm wearing hard pants. That's what we call jeans now. Pants that aren't leggings are hard pants. It's a thing, like fetch, we're making it happen. So today we're gonna make a couple drinks. We're gonna make the Crazy for Layla and the Perfect Storm, which, as Julie said, are both available through our website delivery portal. I'm sure you guys have all seen the social media articles that are circulating about the really high commission that a lot of these delivery platforms take. And even when they're doing pickup, they still take usually up to 15%. So any chance, any opportunity that we get to let people know that we have our own website ordering system is great, because since it's our only form of income, we don't want to give anyone a commission. So a couple of things that I just want to go over for all of you home cocktail makers is that when I make these drinks, there's a couple things for those of you who don't necessarily have like a fancy jigger that has like, you know, ½ ounce, ¾ ounce markings and nice shaker tins and all that stuff. If all you have is like, you know, a normal human being stuff at home, one thing is that we like to start, when we're making our drinks, we like to start with our cheapest ingredients first. That way, if you accidentally over pour your syrup or your juice or something, you can dump it and start over, and you don't waste your liquor, because during this time in particular, nobody wants to waste liquor. So when you're making your drinks, you want to build from your cheapest ingredient to your most expensive in case you make a mistake. And then the other thing is, if you don't have these tools, you can think of, so I'm going to go through the cocktail recipe like ratios in a moment, but if you don't have a jigger to measure everything, you can think of everything as like transferably ratioed. So let's say I say, oh, it's ¾ ounce of lime juice. Well, if you don't have something that measures ¾ ounce, you can say, okay, I'm going to use this cup. 3/4 of this cup is this much. Half of this cup is this much. 2 cups is, you know, 2 of these, whatever. And then you just have like 10 cocktails that you just made at once. But then you can pour it out and dilute it, you know, as you go. And that way you don't have to worry about like having the exact precise measurement tools. The other thing is, if you don't have a shaker tin, you can use, the other day I used a ball jar, and I measured the drink into it and put the ice in and sealed the lid and just kind of shook it around. That literally works just as well. So that's a really good tool if you, like I said, don't have at-home cocktail making tools. Okay. Oh, and the last thing is, while you might see speed bartenders and movies like Cocktail and all that crap, where they like get their ice and they're doing all this stuff and they're pouring and blah, blah, blah. A really, really great, well-balanced, well-diluted cocktail, you don't want to add, you add your ice at the very last moment, and you shake and then you pour it off the ice. It's just to make sure that you achieve the right level of coldness and dilution without over watering it down. So moving on. Okay, so we're gonna start with the Perfect Storm, which is a take on a classic Bermuda cocktail from like the World War I era called the Dark and Stormy, which I'm sure everyone's heard of. An interesting side story, the Smirnoff took Gosling Rum's marketing campaign. It was so successful that they took it and used it for themselves with the Moscow Mule in the 60s. And that's what actually made vodka so huge in the United States for like 40 years. So it's a really great cocktail. Okay, so the drink is, and I'm going to use all my fancy tools because I have access to them. We're going to do 3/4 ounce of lime juice, 1/4 ounce of pineapple juice. Now I'm using ginger syrup because we have an immersion blender and the utilities to make that. But honestly, you could use simple syrup and good ginger beer and you'll be fine. So I'm using ginger syrup, but you could use simple syrup. It's going to be 3/4 ounce for that. Sugar, yeah, sugar and ginger pureed with water. And then we're going to do 2 ounces of Gosling's dark rum. Okay. And so we measured everything. Now we're going to add our ice, which I brought from home. Oopsies. And then we seal and we shake. Now, if you are at home, one thing you could do is just, particularly if you don't have a ton of really fancy ice cubes, you can just pour it straight into your glass, which is what I'm going to do. Normally, I'd strain it. And then we are going to top it with a little bit of Gosling's ginger beer. Now, if you order from All Set right now, they delivered us the wrong things. We're using Fever Tree, which is equally as delicious, just not like the classic combination. And you are ready to enjoy. Cheers. My fiance will enjoy that because he's drinking for us.
That is beautiful. Can we see it one more time?
Oh, that looks delicious.
It is delicious. Just to let everyone know, I'm enjoying it right now.
Okay, now I'm going to take a quick moment for a word from our sponsors, me. Did you know that All Set Restaurant and Bar is now offering a weekly Maryland Crab Fest pack-out? So you'll order anytime during the week. As long as you order before 3 p.m. on Friday, you'll be able to pick up your order that Saturday between 2 and 4. It's $70 for 2 people, and it includes, get ready, 2 jumbo lump Maryland crab cakes with Old Bay Beurre Blanc, 2 deep-fried Maryland soft-shell crabs with romesco dipping sauce, 1 quart of Maryland crab soup, grilled corn on the cob, a half dozen hush puppies with Old Bay honey butter, and a quart of coleslaw. So, you know, for that nice kind of sunny patio day that you feel like getting crabby with it, I think it's a great value and it's super delicious. Oh, and we'll also throw in a couple Narragansetts, just because what pairs better. But if you're not a beer person and you prefer wine, we'll offer for a little bit of an upcharge. Jen and I will pair, Jen's a Somm level 2, so we'll pair a bunch of wine options as well. So just a fun little word from our sponsors. Okay, moving
on. Molly, we actually had a question. Could you repeat the ingredients for Perfect Storm?
Yes, okay, so if you wanna make it the way we make it at All Set, it's 3/4 lime juice, 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice, sorry. 3/4 of an ounce of ginger syrup, which if anybody wants the recipe for, shoot me an email and I can send it to you. 1/4 of an ounce of pineapple juice, and then 2 ounces of Gosling's Black Seal. This is definitely one of the, rum is very like cocktail specific because they're so different, like kind of like bourbon. So you do, if you want to get that authentic taste, you want to go for the Goslings. We tried it with other blackstrap rums, it's just not the same.
We actually had another question. What about a lime garnish?
You can certainly do that. I am a big environmentalist, and I don't believe in unnecessary garnishes. So if there's something that's going to actually add to the cocktail, the one exception is we did have a drink for a while called Aesthetically Aggressive, which is a nod to Schitt's Creek, very funny show. So we did have an edible flower garnish on that because it was called Aesthetically Aggressive, so we had to make it aesthetically aggressive. But other than that, I really try and avoid garnishes that don't actually enhance the drink. So if you want to put a lime wedge on there, absolutely feel free. You know, orange twist is what we served in the restaurant, which gives it a nice scent. But I think the drink on its own is so great, you don't really need anything. You don't have to waste any resources.
All right, we're good for the next drink.
Okay, moving on. So Crazy for Layla. I was gonna make Jen tell this story, but the story behind the name, that is, which Julie's enjoying it right now. That she ordered from a restaurant for delivery, so everybody knows. But I believe it was an Arabic folklore, right, Jen? Yeah. I don't remember the whole story, but there's a good story behind it. The point being that I created it as a spin-off of the aviation, which is what I believe Jane Redeker is enjoying right now. So the nice thing about this too is that if you really enjoy this drink, it's something that you can make from home without having to worry about the ingredients going bad, because it's all spirit-based except for the juice. So you don't have to like worry about, oh, I made like, it's really hard to make like an ounce of a syrup. You usually make like a quart of it. And then you're like, oh, it's gonna go bad. I have to use all of it, blah, blah, blah. So with a spirit-based cocktail, it's nice because you don't have to worry about that. So this one's super easy. We're gonna do 3/4 lemon juice. Rum and tequila go well with lime, and lemon goes well with bourbon and gin. Just quick little side note. So 3/4 lemon, half triple sec. Three-quarters creme de violette. This is definitely the key ingredient. Not really substitutional, but if you like floral, it's awesome. And 2 ounces of gin. So you'll be nice and boozed up with this one since it's like a bunch of liquor. And we are going to add our ice. With a drink that's not going to be served on ice, it's going to be served fine strained neat. You really want to shake it really hard because there's not going to be any further dilution. So you're going to give it a good hard.
So what does the shaking do to the cocktail? How do you shake it?
So when you're shaking it, and the reason it does make a difference to use good ice, thank you, Sean, for the question. You're not only, you're chilling it and diluting it, and if you overdo one or the other, it's not going to be as balanced. So those big ice cubes are both helping to really nicely chill it without over diluting it. So an important ingredient in every drink is ice/water. We're going to fine strain this, but if you don't have a fine strainer, don't worry about it. It just gets rid of the chips. And then we would garnish it with a lemon twist, but I don't want to waste a lemon on one twist. So sorry, as an environmentalist. We're going to leave it at that, but it's still super delicious. So cheers to purple.
That is beautiful and delicious. I can attest to that. We have another question. One of our attendees is a big gin guy, and he knows that there's a wide variety of gin flavors. Do you have any recommendation for which gin is the best?
That's a great, great question. And actually, we were talking to Jane about that before we started here. I would say something more botanical and not as aggressively juniper-y is going to be really nice. Beefeater is really great because it's like a classic London dry gin, but it also isn't overly herbaceous, overly juniper-y. It's like you know it's a gin, but it's not aggressively making its presence known, which I appreciate. And also, yeah, Plymouth. And then if you want to go a little more bold with it and make it more full-bodied and more herbaceous, then you can go with something like Uncle Val's Botanical, or number 209 is really awesome as well.
Yeah. If anyone else has any other questions, we are going to, oh yeah, we have a question. What cocktail are you most proud of at Allset, and has the pandemic inspired any new drink ideas?
Oh, that's a great question. I like the question. I'm actually most proud of a drink that we're not offering right now, but if anybody wants me to start offering it, let me know. But it's one of our brunch drinks called the Wicked Good Morning. Jen had the idea of using like leftover coffee from Saturday night in a drink for Sunday morning, which as an environmentalist, I was really excited about, like not wasting anything. And then the first time I was like tweaking, like I didn't even have to play with the recipe that much. I made it like maybe 2 or 3 times, and it came out and it looked like a cappuccino because I shake a couple ounces of cold coffee with coffee syrup from Rhode Island, which we're a New England restaurant, so that Rhode Island plug felt really good. And an almond syrup that we make in-house called orgeat, and vodka. And it looks exactly like a cappuccino, and it tastes like a delicious coffee drink, but it has 2 ounces of vodka in it. So that's the one I'm most proud of. As far as quarantine, the one thing that I've really wanted to play with is beet juice, because beets are apparently very good for your liver and everyone's drinking a ton. So I figure if there's a way to both help your liver and continue to drink at the same time, it's a win-win. So my other bartender and I are playing with that right now. That's what's on the docket.
That sounds delicious. We got 2 more questions that came in. So suggestions for cocktails with Saint Germain. This person has the elderflower flavor, but they don't want to buy it without knowing what to do with it.
That's a great question as well. I would say there's a couple directions to go. A really great classic cocktail that can work well with that is a twist on a French 75. I won't lie, I worked at Founding Farmers for several years. That's where I met Jen, actually, back in 2010. And we had a drink on the menu there that was like 3/4 of an ounce of Saint Germain, 1 ounce of gin, hard shaken, and then strained with, and then a couple of dashes of orange bitters and sparkling wine. And that is like, you will never not like that. It is so good. If you like that little bit of floral, but it's not sweet. It's not like overly sweet, which cordials sometimes can bring the drink in that direction. That one's really nice.
Great. And another question is, what's your best rum drink for the summertime?
Oh, that's the perfect storm, hands down. Although maybe we'll see if we start doing, I mean, when we find out information about when we get to open our patio, I'm extremely passionate about tiki cocktails. I love them. I love making all of the ingredients. I just love the tropical flavors and how they make you feel like you can escape whatever situation you're in. So we'll probably play with like a hurricane and a zombie and stuff once we know that we'll be able to see people. So yeah, those are also up on the docket, but for now I would say our perfect storm is pretty awesome for the summer.
I hope you get information soon, because it seems like it's going to be a beautiful summer and want to be able to go out and eat and drink, which speaking of eating, another question is food pairings for these cocktails. What goes well with Perfect Storm and Crazy for Layla?
That's a good question. Okay, Perfect Storm, I would say, would go, because it's a little bit more savory. The rum itself, and then the ginger and all of those elements, I would say would go better with like a red meat based dish, or even like a pulled pork. We do have a really great barbecue menu that we, just to keep pushing our stuff. We do have a great barbecue menu. So yeah, I would say like our brisket, our pulled pork, a burger. If you wanted to order a drink from us and something from another restaurant, a steak. But yeah, it's gonna help bolster that umami, but also cut through the richness a little bit. And then Crazy for Layla, it's such an aperitif because it's a palate kind of starter. Since it's floral and refreshing and bright. Maybe the fish tacos could be nice, that we have. What else do we have that I would say is good? We're gonna have our fried oysters back on soon. That would be a good pairing. I don't know if we're yeah, I would say like things that are like, if you're engaging in something that's the first course of your experience, I would recommend pairing it with this. So anything of that nature.
And then there's a question from earlier that I forgot to ask, so sorry about that. Whenever you do lime juice, do you have a specific brand, or can you just crush up some limes?
So we have the really nice benefit of being able to order fresh lime juice from our vendor, which is really nice because then we don't have to do the work. I would definitely recommend if you're really serious about making your drinks, I would recommend that you either buy fresh lime juice from Whole Foods. Don't buy it from the fridge section, not the on a shelf with stabilizer in a glass bottle section, because they use a little bit of sugar to kind of stabilize it, and they also use other stabilizers, and it just kind of, you'd have to reappropriate all of the ingredients and probably use some citric acid, and it gets very stressful. So yeah, I would definitely, if you want to buy it, I would buy it from Whole Foods from the fresh juice section, or just squeeze it yourself.
Whole Foods is a member too, so definitely shop there.
I knew that.
So you got 2 people who second the All Set fried oysters and mussels are delicious and good with the crazy for Layla.
Ooh, great. Thanks, guys.
So if anyone else has any questions, let us know. And if not, we're going to end the demonstration part. We're going to stop recording, and then we're going to jump back into networking. So any other questions? Going once, going twice. You are so knowledgeable, Molly. I know nothing about alcohol besides drinking it. So thank you.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk everybody's ears off and get passionate and excited about what I miss doing. So I really appreciate it.
Of course. All right. So we are going to stop recording.